Questions to Prime Minister. Honourable members, table has been advised that PQ B722 will be replied by the Honourable Attorney General. PQ B724 will be replied by the Honourable Minister of Land Transport, and PQ B728 will be replied by the Honourable Minister of Youth and Sports. I also understand that PQ B716 and B718 have been withdrawn. So I now call on the third member for Beaubassin-Petite-Rivière, Mr. Quirin.
B7 and 9, please.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that on the 24th of July 2020, the then Ministry of Labour, Human Resources, Development and Training had referred for inquiry an alleged case of malpractice at the Mauritius Football Association regarding the transfer of 4 Malagasy players by the Cercle de Joachim. On the 31st of July 2020, the case was assigned to the Central Criminal Investigation Department. On the 9th of September 2021, the case file was sent to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions for advice. On the 7th of April 2022, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions advised that no further action be taken and the case was filed.
Madame la Présidente, j'ai bien compris la réponse de l'honorable ministre, mais vu
Premier ministre.
Pardon, du Premier ministre, pardon, excusez-moi. J'ai bien compris sa réponse, mais le fait que ce cas a été sanctionné par la Fédération internationale de football et que et la MFA et le Cercle de Joachim ont eu à payer une amende de 10 000 francs suisses en 2021. Est-ce que le Premier ministre ne pense-t-il pas qu'on devrait, vu qu'il y a eu effectivement malpractices, est-ce que ce cas ne devrait pas être référé à nouveau à la police pour être une enquête additionnelle, supplémentaire, pour faire la lumière vraiment sur ce qui s'est passé, puisqu'il y a eu malpractices?
I understand what the Honourable Member is trying to say, but the DPP had looked at all the evidence or whatever and decided that the case should not go ahead. So I must rely on that.
Okay. Honourable second member for Vieux-Grand-Port and Roosevelt, Mr. Seeburn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's question B/710, please.
Madam Speaker, the gross economic mismanagement by the previous government during the past decade has severely undermined our macroeconomic fundamentals. So we all know this. It has led, among others, to a sharp depreciation of the rupee and an increase in the inflation rate and therefore the cost of living. In fact, in December 2014, the average exchange rate stood at 31.97 rupees against the US dollar. By October 2024, that is practically 10 years later, it had risen to 46.64 rupees per US dollar, reflecting a depreciation of the rupee by 46%. This significant depreciation of the Mauritian rupee has had far-reaching economic consequences. On the domestic front, it has intensified inflationary pressures and therefore raised the prices of goods and services. Inflation surged to a peak of 11.3% in February 2023, marking it was the highest level for 3 decades, 11.3%. Between December 2014 and October 2024, consumer prices in Mauritius increased by a dramatic 43.3%. On the external front, the depreciation of the rupee has contributed in the widening of the trade deficit, which stood at a high of 180 billion rupees, equivalent to 28.2% of GDP in 2023. It deteriorated further in 2024, rising from 180 billion to 207.8 billion, that is 29.9% of GDP. And this reflects the growing imbalances between imports and exports. Madam Speaker, as I've said on numerous occasions in this House, the dire economic situation we face today is the direct consequence of the gross mismanagement of the economy by the previous government. It reflects a striking level of amateurism and incompetence in the handling of the country's economic affairs, exposing a troubling lack of foresight and, as I said, competence. Let me highlight a few glaring examples of flawed monetary policies. First of all, the Bank of Mauritius decided to print money to finance the budget deficit. Secondly, the Bank of Mauritius further resorted to more money printing to finance the Mauritius Investment Corporation Limited. Overall, the Bank of Mauritius injected a total amount of 180 billion rupees of liquidity in the banking system. As a result of this excess liquidity, the banking system surged, the excess liquidity surged dramatically and unprecedented to 90 billion in August 2023 alone. This led to the depreciation of the rupee and, of course, intensified inflationary pressures within the local economy. Third, the increase in the policy rate by cumulative 265 basis points during 2022 was not enough to solidify and to solidly anchor inflation expectations and prevent the further depreciation of the rupee. Fourth, despite expert recommendations to raise the key rate, the Bank of Mauritius chose not only to ignore the expert recommendations, but they did exactly the opposite. In other words, instead of increasing, they decreased it from the key rate from 4.5% to 4% in September 2024. Now, this negative interest rate gap between the rupee and the US dollar caused a sharp depreciation again of the rupee. Let me now turn to some of the critical policy blunders of the previous regime. First, they favored an economic model based on reckless consumption and imports. Such a model built on a short-term gains rather than structural resilience was inherently unsustainable and ultimately detrimental to our economic stability. Secondly, they created a money illusion by giving away a range of allowances, cash and house. They opted for populist policies that provided short-term relief but contributed to increasing inflation. Third, they squandered public funds on costly white elephant projects, neglecting critical investments in productive infrastructure, innovation, and green transition. Fourth, with the reckless spending, they increased the budget deficit and brought public sector debt to 90% of GDP in June 2025. Madam Speaker, since assuming office, we have implemented a series of measures aimed at steering the economy back onto the path of stability and sustainable growth. We are shifting the economic model away from the one that relies heavily on consumption and imports towards a more sustainable model powered by investment, exports, and innovation. We have been able to stabilize the trade-weighted exchange rate of the rupee. In fact, the rupee has recently appreciated against the US dollar due to movements in the international markets. The headline inflation rate has gone down to 2.9%. It was during the 12-month period. It was 4.5% in June 2024. And finally, we're implementing a comprehensive fiscal consolidation plan to bring down the budget deficit and the public sector debt to more sustainable levels.
Yes, you're right. Next question. The third member for Montagne Blanche and Grand River Southeast. Dr. Saumtally.
B711.
Madam Speaker, the Mauritian diaspora scheme has been set up in 2015 to attract members of the Mauritian diaspora back to Mauritius to participate in the economic development of the country. The Mauritius Diaspora Scheme, which is managed by the Economic Development Board, requires an eligible member of the Mauritian diaspora who wishes to return to Mauritius as self-employed to invest at least 250,000 rupees either in his own name or as a one-person company. in a field of activity which is deemed to be scarce, innovative, or strategic. I'm informed by the Economic Development Board that currently 550 members of the Mauritian diaspora are benefiting from this scheme, out of which 170 are self-employed. Out of the 170 self-employed, only 5 are one-person companies. Under the Mauritius Diaspora Scheme, a self-employed investing through a one-person company needs to become a resident in Mauritius to benefit from the incentives of the scheme. The one-person company should also be a private company incorporated in Mauritius, in which the sole shareholder is the sole director of the company as per the Companies Act. Furthermore, Section 132 of the Companies Act requires that a company should at least have one director who is ordinarily resident in Mauritius. Madam Speaker, it is not proposed to amend Section 132 of the Companies Act at this point to relax the requirement for at least one director to be resident in Mauritius. This requirement applies not only to one-person companies, but to all types of companies registered in Mauritius. This is an established international principle which can be compared with other jurisdictions. Enforcing this requirement is vital to strengthen our regulatory framework for companies and also to facilitate administrative procedures. It ensures that there will be a person, that is a director, who is physically present in Mauritius to represent the company and be answerable to our enforcement authorities in the event of any breach by that company. Madam Speaker, however, I wish to reassure the Honourable Member that as I have announced in the budget speech of 2025-2026, a new and comprehensive strategy is currently being developed in collaboration with the Economic Development Board to make the scheme less restrictive. We will thus facilitate the return of our valuable Mauritian diaspora members to contribute to the development of our country.
Thank you. Yes. Next question, the Honourable Fourth Member for Port-Prince North and North Island.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. B712.
Madam Speaker, the Bank of Mauritius is an autonomous and independent body governed by the provisions of the Bank of Mauritius Act 2004. As a matter of fact, Section 3, subsection 3 of the Bank of Mauritius Act provides that the Bank of Mauritius shall, in furtherance of its objects, performs its functions independently. Section 12(1) of the Act further provides that the general policy of the affairs and business of the bank, other than the formulation and determination of monetary policy, shall be entrusted to a board of directors. Therefore, Madam Speaker, in addition, Section 12(3) of the Act provides that the board shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority in the exercise of its functions. But let me inform the House that the remuneration of the governor and the deputy governors are actually disclosed in the financial statements of the Bank of Mauritius, which are publicly available on the website of the bank.
Yes.
The question had also asked, first of all, I take note that the Prime Minister will not provide these details to the House. However, the Financial Services Commission, for example, where some of them are appointed, at least one of them, he could have disclosed that information. Let me nonetheless ask the Prime Minister whether he is prepared to consult the Bank of Mauritius for a review in the name of keeping foreign currency in Mauritius, the astronomical figures of per diem that is paid to the governor, for example, when he travels, which amounts to $1,400 apparently, and $200 for entertainment allowance, 73,000 rupees, but paid in dollar. Is that something that he's prepared to review?
That is not part of the question, Madam Speaker. And I did say that if you want to get all the information, it's on the financial statement of the Bank of Mauritius on its website.
Okay. Next question. The Honourable First Member for Savane and Black River, Mr. Balaj.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B713.
Madam Speaker, in regards to Part A and A1 of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that between 2020 and the 18th of July 2025, 117 drug cases have been detected in the West Coast, leading to the arrest of 163 suspects, of whom 146 are Mauritian nationals and 17 are foreign citizens. As per for Part A2 of the question, I'm informed that inquiries are in progress in all these cases. With regard to Part B of the question concerning the possible installation of safe city surveillance cameras at the roads leading to the 4 entrances of La Paz, I'm informed that there are 204 safe city cameras installed at key locations, as well as policing by 11 police stations and 7 National Coast Guards. Regular foot, mobiles and sea aerial patrols by the NCG personnel, as well as by the drone aircraft and police helicopters also monitor the coastal region. However, the region is monitored by 3 coastal surveillance radar system stations located at Le Monde, Albion, and Congo. These operate on a 24-hour basis and provide real-time data on vessel movements. A more advanced CSRS donated by the government of Japan is expected to be operational by October or November of next year, and which will offer significantly enhanced surveillance capacity. In addition, with a view to enhancing our maritime surveillance, Mauritius continues to collaborate with regional maritime centers, namely the Regional Maritime Information Fusion Center in Madagascar and the Regional Coordination Cooperation Center in Seychelles. I also wish to inform the House that in February 2024, Mauritius signed a bilateral agreement with Réunion Island to strengthen cooperation in the fight against drug trafficking and the use of maritime routes for smuggling. Given the current surveillance framework in place, Madam Speaker, and the enhancement already underway, the question of installing additional safe city cameras along the West Coast, covering the roads leading to the 4 main La Paz, would best be addressed by the outcome of a comprehensive risk and threat assessment, which is ongoing. The matter remains under consideration, and further reinforcement measures will be taken as and when deemed operationally necessary.
Yes. Okay. The Honourable Second Member for Grand Bay Poudre d'Or, Mr. Bijan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B714.
Madam Speaker, the Dubai Expo 2020 was held from October 2021 to March 2022. Dubai Expo 2020 was clearly a travel folly by the former ministers using taxpayers' money at a time when the Mauritian people were reeling under the impact of a COVID pandemic. Most families were financially in difficulty, but also worried about the COVID. These people were traveling at taxpayers' money. I hope you ask me a question next time on this. I'm informed, you're getting the answer. I'm informed that 11 ministers, 11 of the previous government, together with the accompanying delegations, attended the Dubai Expo 2020. 3 former ministers. I did say 11 ministers, but 3 former ministers, namely Mr. Padiachi, former Minister of Finance, Mr. Balgobin, former Minister of Information Technology, Communication and Innovation, and Mr. Bola, former Minister of Industrial Development, SMEs and Cooperative. They attended the same expo twice. Explain to me why. Why did they have to go twice? Yeah? The total participation costs of the ministerial delegations amounted to 8,252,970 rupees and 89 cents. Madam Speaker, the list is very long. It will take a longer time. I think it's better to table the list together with the duration of the stay, the per diem and other allowances drawn.
Yes. One question. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform what criteria were used to select attendees of Dubai Expo? Because now it's the time for us to expose the former government As so much of public
Question.
funds have been used.
Don't make a statement. Ask your question. Finish. Yes. Yes, Prime Minister.
As I said, there was no criteria. We can't say any criteria. Why would somebody have to go twice? 3 ministers went twice. And they went with delegation. This is why I will table it. There was, as I called it, a travel folly. It was an occasion for them. People were dying with COVID here. They couldn't be there. Damn. I was going to say something else. And they just travel, enjoyed. Enjoyed because gouvernement nous l'a mis, fait ce qu'il doit faire.
Okay? Yes. What do you have? A supplementary? Okay?
I'm glad that the Prime Minister is prepared
No comment. If you put this question,
to table.
Don't do the same.
Is that a
everybody.
comment?
No, give me a question.
Qui shut up, da? Il peut dire où shut up.
No.
Alors, he's
We were doing very well up to now.
il doit se passer des commentaires comme ça. S'il veut pas travailler, qu'il aille à la maison. Il aille à la maison. Combien de temps on va permettre encore comme ça?
Honourable member,
La question, c'est...
you were asking a
Oui,
question.
la
Please
question
carry on.
au Premier ministre, c'est je suis ravi qu'il va donner les détails. J'espère qu'il puisse prendre l'engagement ici de donner les détails systématiquement à toutes les questions qui reportent sur les voyages. Parce que la dernière fois, j'ai pas eu les informations.
It's not a question.
Do it systematically. Transparency, that's good.
The honourable member seems to forget.
Try to
I've
answer.
always given all the details, except for the Bank of Mauritius, which I just always, you ask any question you want to ask, I'm giving all the details of the amount of money they spend. It's a criminal. These people should be hanged.
Honourable second member for Conseil Militaire. I don't want to say the word shut up again. Give me 1 second. I will take this time to apologize for last time when I couldn't bear it anymore and I said shut up, which is not a parliamentary word. So I am now apologizing to the House. But don't push me too far, please. Madam Tanu, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question B715, please.
Yes.
Yes, Madam Speaker, in regard to part A1 and 2 of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that for the period 2014 to 2024, 3,337 cases have been reported to the Cybercrime Unit, and the outcome are as follows. 111 cases have been resolved, 147 cases are awaiting advice from the DPP, 14 cases are awaiting trial, 889 cases are still inquiry as of the 18th of July of this year, and 2,176 cases have been filed. In regards to part B of the question, I'm further informed that the following measures have been put in place for the improvement, efficiency, and rapid service delivery by the Cybercrime Unit. First of all, significant increase in staffing from 13 to 21, 13 in 2014 to 21 in 2025 to handle multiple investigations simultaneously. Regular training of these officers entirely are emerging cybercrime trends and digital evidence handling is going on. Strengthened collaboration with local agencies such as the CRTMU and IITA, as well as with international law enforcement bodies to accelerate investigations, including direct 24/7 contact channels with platforms like Facebook and TikTok to expedite requests. Action through CRTMU Mauritius for the removal of illegal online content and 24/7 cyber patrols by the police IT unit to monitor and detect suspicious online activity. Fourth, the digital forensic lab at the police IT unit is now operational on a 24-hour basis to enable prompt analysis of electronic evidence. Madam Speaker, the House will appreciate that the issue of cybercrime is a complex challenge being faced worldwide. The collaboration of each stakeholder as well as the public is required to combat this scourge. The government is fully committed to continuously enhancing the capacity of our institutions to respond effectively to the ever-evolving cybercrime threats. In that respect, as I mentioned, a specialized unit is currently being set up to focus specifically on cybersecurity-related issues with technical assistance from external expertise. These efforts are part of a broader strategy to modernize policing and safeguard our digital environment. As stated in the government program of 2025-2029, the Ministry of Information Technology, Communication and Innovation is also considering amendments to be made to the Cybersecurity and Cybercrime Act to strengthen the provisions on auditing of critical sectors and child online protection due to the evolving nature of cyber threats landscape.
Yes, all, you're happy? Okay, so now 718 has been withdrawn. So now we have the Honourable Fourth Member for Rodrigues, Mr. Edouard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B717, please.
Madam Speaker, the Social Contribution and Social Benefits Act provides for the payment of the monthly CSG income allowance to an eligible employee only if the employer has submitted the relevant returns and has paid or remitted to the Mauritius Revenue Authority. First of all, both employers and the employees of the CSG contributions. Secondly, the contribution of the National Savings Fund. Thirdly, the Human Resource Development Council training levy. And fourthly, contributions of to the Portable Retirement Gratuity Fund. I'm informed by the MRA that for the period from January 2025 to date, 1,634 complaints have been received from employees who were not paid the CSG income allowance because the employers, 1,150 in total, did not comply with the statutory requirements. Out of these complaints, 22 relate to employees in Rodrigues and concern 19 defaulting employers. I'm informed, Madam Speaker, by the MRA that through enforcement actions, out of the 1,634 complaints, 1,456, including the 16 complaints from Rodrigues, have already been resolved. The MRA has paid the CSG income allowance to 1,444 of those employees and will effect payment for the remaining by this week. For the remaining 178 employees, including 6 cases that are from Rodrigues, the MRA is taking action to initiate legal proceedings against the 82 employers concerned.
Thank you. Yes. Now I have the Honourable Third Member for Rodrigues, Madam Mano. No?
719.
719? We haven't done yet. Mr. Edouard? Oh, you have a second question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, Mr. Edouard wants
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B719.
Okay. There was one which was withdrawn, so I was lost.
Madam Speaker, with regards to the water sector, the Government of Mauritius has signed the following agreements with the Agence Française de Développement since 2019. To date, first, a technical assistance of 600,000 euros signed on the 5th of September 2019 to support the water sector in Mauritius and Rodrigues. Under this assistance, the Rodrigues Water Resources Strategy and Priority Action Plan were developed, among others. Second, a technical assistance of 1.3 million euro signed on the 26th of February 2024 for a study in Rodrigues on the depth and the volume of freshwater aquifers for the development of new boreholes. Third, a technical assistance of 800,000 euro was also signed on the 26th of February 2024, out of which 462,640 euros were for the development of a strategy for rainwater management and flood risk prevention on the island of Rodrigues, and the remainder to develop a strategy for the improved capacity of absorption in Mauritius. Madam Speaker, on the 1st of December 2023, the Government of Mauritius also signed a sector budget support loan agreement with AFD for reform in the water sector in Mauritius and Rodrigues. The quantum of the loan is 200 million euro. This sector budget support, the loan, is coupled with a grant of 2 million euro, and this grant is being used to finance the elaboration of a water policy for Mauritius, improving water quality in Rodrigues, and a technical advisor providing support to the Ministry of Energy and Public Utilities and the Rodrigues Public Utility Corporation. With respect to the projects earmarked under this loan assistance, I would like to highlight that the loan from AFD is a sector budget support loan. The financing from a budget support loan is not earmarked for specific projects. Accordingly, the proceeds of the loan are directly credited to the consolidated fund and contribute to the financing of various projects and programs in the water sector, both for Mauritius and Rodrigues. As per sector budget support loan agreement, disbursements are linked to key performance indicators in the water sector, again for both Mauritius and Rodrigues. So far, 105 million euros have been disbursed under this loan agreement. Madam Speaker, over and above the financing from AFT, there are several projects for the water sector that are being implemented for both Mauritius and Rodrigues. The main ones are 3.1 billion rupees, including 1.4 billion for the construction of the Rivière des Anguilles Dam, 1.2 billion for pipe replacement projects, and 100 million for the rehabilitation of La Ferme Dam, 50 million for the upgrading of Piton du Milieu water treatment, 73 million for the construction and upgrading of pumping stations at Poudre d'Or and Plaine-Lezon, 100 million for containerized filtration plants, drilling of boreholes and maintenance of feeder canals, and 50 million for the replacement of bulk water meters. For Rodrigues, 216.3 million has been provided in the budget of the Rodrigues Regional Assembly 2025-2026. These funds are mainly to meet the operating costs of the Commission responsible for water, Rodrigues Public Utilities, and rainwater harvesting scheme. Second, 540 million for 2 desalination plants, distribution networks, and metering finance from MIC. Third, $10 million, which amounts to about 457 million rupees, is a grant from the World Bank and European Union to support Rodrigues' sustainable development with a particular focus on water and food security. Let me reassure the House, Madam Speaker, that we are not leaving Rodrigues behind, not at all. Over 1 billion rupees have been earmarked for the water sector for the next 2 financial years in Rodrigues.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Time is now up.